What up, though, and welcome to Woodward Heavyweights Live on WoodsportsCom. I'm Easy, joined by my guys Smo Rax.
What up, though?
Young Chris, Nicholas Koloff, a.k.a. Detroit Mario. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Packers reporter from Locked On Packers. I'm pretty sure he does a million other things, too. Peter Bukowski joined the show. What up, man?
Hey, guys.
Hey,
Why am I here? What's going on?
Enemy number one of Lions Twitter as of a couple days ago, getting into it and the Bulger Army coming after you, Peter. How are you feeling, man?
You know what? I'm okay. Mostly unscathed. It's funny because this is already where I am with like Bears fans and Vikings fans. And so to be here finally with Lions fans, it's just it feels a little normal to me. Like I'm used to people coming at my neck, and that's fine. Like that's part of the deal. That's part of the fun. I frankly did not expect it. Like when I sent out the tweet yesterday saying that the Packers had a better roster than the Lions, I did not expect to get the reaction that I got to it. But that, that's just part of offseason content, but also just like part of the rivalry. And I think like we're at the place now where Packers Lions is a rivalry because for years, right? Like what was it? Like they were like 23-4 against the Lions for years and years and years. And it wasn't a rivalry. And, I heard from a lot of Detroit fans lately, like, well, we're 4-2 against you, like the last however many times. And it's like, okay, so let's see. New era in both places. Let's see how this goes moving forward. I'm excited to see it.
I'm excited to see it, too. I mean, maybe not as excited because we kind of just got here. You guys could have waited to, pull out Jordan Love. I mean,
yeah.
Where you at? It was
a couple years at least.
Are you more of a belief of what he was that second half of the year? Because we actually just did our all NFC North offensive and defensive teams. I caught backlash from my very own Lions fan because I put Jordan Love at quarterback. I mean, how do you weigh that, Jordan Love versus Jared Goff?
So I think it is intuitive to say, well, he's not what he was in the second half of last year. That's just like not the guy we saw the first couple games. Except that even if that's true, when he was like one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the league in the second half of the year, over the course of the season, just look at the numbers. He was in the top 10 in every important statistical category. Whether you like the advanced numbers, whether you like the raw numbers, you like touchdown numbers, yardage numbers, like whatever you like, he was up there at the top. And then you see the high level plays, his ability to, based on what I'm doing as the quarterback, take over a football game, I think is at a higher level than we have seen from most, frankly, of the other quarterbacks in the NFC. If we're like not just NFC North, but like all of the NFC. And so if you're going to extrapolate moving forward, you go, okay, if he's that guy's an elite quarterback. That guy's like he can be one of the 5 or 6 best quarterbacks in the league. He can be one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the league with that talent and what he did with all first and second year receivers, all rookie tight ends, 2 new tackle starters along the offensive line, and Aaron Jones missing more than half the season. If you just look at raw games played, it's about half the season, but he was not healthy even in about half of the games that he played. He really missed more like 12 or 15 games in terms of what he was totally healthy. I think that gives you a pretty good idea of what Jordan Love is. And I think we forget now, the first 3 games of the year, he was awesome. He lit up the Chicago Bears. Came back from 17 points down in the fourth quarter on his shoulders to beat the New Orleans Saints. And then it was only a defensive collapse against the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta that cost them a 3-0 start. So I think it's easy to look at that middle 5 games. It started with that Lions beatdown. And I was dead wrong about that game. I did not understand why the line was what it was. And the line was right. And I took a lot of heat on Twitter for it before and after. But I said it again before the Thanksgiving game, and I was right that game. Like these teams are pretty close, and that's why this is really fun because moving forward, I think the Lions are going to be measured against the Packers and vice versa. And that is a place, guys, that I don't think in the 100-year history of these two teams, you can ever have said that at any other time.
No, I agree. What my whole thing about Jordan Love is that I need to see him do it for a whole nother season before I put him above. Because now that the league has a year of tape on him, I want to see how he reacts to 16 game or 17 games of Jordan Love tape being out there and seeing how the league adjusts to how he plays.
Okay, but on the flip side, what defense has figured out the Shanahan tree offense yet? Like, no one figured out Jared Goff in LA. No one figured out Jimmy G in San Francisco.
Yeah.
No one figured out even like Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. That was more about injuries. Like, it's the offense right now that is doing a lot of the work for a lot of these teams. Now, Jordan Love has shown he can transcend the scheme. If it's not there, he can identify pressure pre-snap. But so this is always what I say when people say, oh, the second year regression is coming, the tape, they get to study him. Okay, I understand that. In the second half of the season, when there was more tape on Jordan Love, top 10 in EPA per play against the blitz, top 10 in EPA per play against man coverage, top 10 in EPA per play against zone coverage. He was a top 10 quarterback against anything you wanted to do to him. The Bears are an execute our defense, cover 3, cover 2, cover 1 team. Torch them. The Vikings are a psychosis defense. They are an absolute chaos defense. We might be dropping 8 or we might be bringing 8. You don't know what we're doing. Torch them. The Chiefs, blitz heavy man coverage team. Jordan Love played awesome against them. So it's one of those things where you go, okay, I understand why you would say that. And I understand like the hesitancy after just half a season. But when you dig into it and you look at, okay, they played every kind of defense you can play and some really good defenses, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Minnesota, who was a better defense before they played than after, in part because of what the Packers did. Dallas, they scored 40 plus points on the road against Dallas in basically everyone's first ever playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that has to count for something here. So this is I think it's a harder thing to punch holes in than most players after 1 year, just because of the circumstances around him. And then the kinds of defenses that they did face, he really did check every box.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that got Lions fans really riled up was you saying they have a better overall roster. And especially when you look at offense, I would agree. I said it earlier. Easy disagreed with me. Other people in the chat disagree with me that I like the Packers wide receiver room better than the Lions wide receiver room per se, like 1 through 4. I think you have more talent than we have 1 through 4. But obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown, first team All-Pro. You've got the other weapons on this team, like guys like Jahmyr Gibbs, who Spipa puts him as a better running back per handoff than Josh Jacobs. David Montgomery, another 1,000-yard rusher, and Sam Laporta, who is also a rookie and was a second-team All-Pro.
So I just did this experiment with Matt Derry, our pal at Locked On Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown, if you're gonna pick receivers, the number 1 pick is Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
I would argue the next 4 guys at least that you would take are Packers.
Come on.
And I say that as someone who loved Jameson
the next
Williams coming out.
4? I can see the 1 being
Listen.
Christian Watson, but J-Mo easily 3 or 4.
We're talking about 25 catches. He's got 3 more career touchdowns in 2 seasons than you and I, guys. 24 catches last year. Like Romeo Dobbs, more productive. Christian Watson, more productive. Dontavian Wicks, more productive. Jaden Reed, more productive.
And less action, though. He had the suspension, the injury the year prior to that.
That's true.
I'll be honest,
but
JG.
I'm just saying, as someone who loved Jameson Williams coming out and was very annoyed when the Lions got him because I was just like, on that fast track, like that's going to suck. I don't like that. He has way underperformed expectations. And I don't know why at this point we would have like a lot of confidence that it's going to change. I don't know that we've seen real progress. Like you guys tell me as people who study this more closely than I have, as an outsider, I have not seen a guy who has made significant improvements in terms of like traits, skills, actual receiver play. Like he still has the physical tools.
He's gotten
incredible in terms of
I think
like
he's gotten
the
better.
explosiveness. But do you think he's a materially better route runner? Is he materially better in traffic? Is he materially better after the catch than he was?
He's gotten so much better.
I think
and that's not even like me trying to like jump at you. It has happened.
If he's that much better, why can't he get the ball?
Well, towards the end of the season, he did, and it started changing. And even you watched the NFC Conference Championship game too that we were in, not you guys. And obviously you saw the end around. He got the pull there. He's done it once against the Vikings too. Like
he had a couple all hands catches.
One of the reasons I would take Jordan Love over Jared Goff is just he's able to make off platform throws. He's able to make throws off schedule, and I feel like that's where J-Mo would thrive. we've had to learn how to utilize Jamo to his best ability, as well as him just kind of coming along and just like learning how to run routes versus just straight go because he has that speed to beat. But it's shown. Like if you were to watch like the back half of last season, Jamo has been he's grown. That's one of the reasons we probably didn't bring back Josh Reynolds.
They're very different players, though, right? Like, and I think that was part of why I was saying, and this was sort of where this conversation started for me. Was I was looking at, okay, the Packers had some obvious needs going into the offseason, safety, linebacker, non-premium positions, but those were the two biggest spots. Mm-hmm. They threw a lot of resources at those spots. Xavier McKinney, high-end free agent.
Yeah, they did.
They drafted 3 safeties. We'll see if those guys are good, but they allocated a ton of resources there. Linebacker, they go back-to-back on day 2. Second round, third round. Did I love the Tyron Hopper pick? No. I love the Adrian Cooper pick, especially after trading down.
I hate that pick for us,
I hate
man.
That book too.
Yeah, I like that kid. I hated that.
And so if you like Jack Campbell, it's really hard to not like Adrian Cooper, right? As from a prospect standpoint, like they're very similar players. But so the Lions, I felt like they had 3 big things heading into this offseason. Corner, a secondary pass rusher, and another receiver. Not just pass catcher, because Sam Laporte is awesome. Another receiver. Corner, no doubt. Like they brought in Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw Jr. Like those are real guys.
Carlton Davis, Amik Robertson as well.
Amik Robertson, but he's got to stay healthy. Emmanuel Mosley's got to stay healthy. Like those are guys who you're counting on to be real impact players for you. That in year 1, especially with these rookies, I don't know what you're going to get. But again, Packers, they did that with linebacker and safety, so I can't discount the rookie part of this. You lose Josh Reynolds, and now I guess you're just counting on internal development from Jameson Williams and Khalif Raymond, who's in year 8, like on his 17th team in the league. Like I don't see that being a path forward for that offense. Maybe it's more action for Jahmyr Gibbs, which would be great from a football standpoint. Like get him more touches in the passing game, especially. I would love to see that. Not as a Packers fan, of course, but like in a vacuum, I'd love to see that. And then like the secondary pass rusher again in the draft, where was that guy? I was waiting for them to take an edge rusher early in this draft. I just don't see it from them. And this was a team in the second half of the season from like week 10 on. They were 31st in EPA per play defensively. It was a really bad defense in the second half. After starting out pretty strong, the run defense was good. Aleem McNeil is a monster. I love the addition of DJ Reader. Oh, yeah. But I don't think that materially improves your pass rush because on 3rd and 10, are Aleem McNeil and DJ Reader going to be on the field at the same time? Like, can you have 2 340-pound guys rushing the passer along the interior at the same time? Like,
Aleem shed away.
I think on first down, those guys are good pass rushers. I don't think on 3rd down, those guys are good pass rushers.
Aleem dropped the weight to try to become more of a pass rusher, and last year we saw that kind of pay off. Where he was getting sacks. I think he had 5 sacks
really before he got injured. I like Aleem McNeil. I don't want to make it seem like I don't think he's a good player.
He did a podcast with Chris Long.
Impact pass rusher the same way.
And I do want to mention one thing before we get off the topic of weapons, because how you mentioned the Lions, they got the 1 wide receiver, and then you gave the Packers the next 4. Well, if we're talking about strictly weapons, I'd give the Lions the 4 top weapons between the 2 teams. Looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, and David Montgomery as guys I would take over anybody off of that Packers offense.
David Montgomery, come on.
He had 1,000 yards last year. He had 10 plus rushing.
He abused you guys on prime time.
On 600 carries.
Yeah, did you see what he did to the Packers?
Because he was eating.
Is this David Montgomery the same guy who's been 1,000 plus yard back every single year he's been in the NFL?
Has not been good since Rich Shermer was the defensive coordinator. Like, it's not impressive to run against the Packers. Everyone runs against the Packers. Did you see the playoff game in 2019 against the 49ers when Jimmy Garoppolo attempted 9 passes? Like, I get it. Dave Montgomery is a nice player. He is a nice running back. Look, I've lived this life. Bears fans tried to tell me David Montgomery was the second coming of Walter Payton for 5 straight seasons or 4 straight seasons. And then the Bears said, bye. And then he went to Detroit, and they decided, this is why I think the Jahmyr Gibbs thing is so funny. They give David Montgomery, you can look it up, 400 carries, 350 carries, something crazy. He's a totally fine, passable running back. He is Mark Ingram to Jahmyr Gibbs, Alvin Kamara. And that, think about those Saints offenses, that's a really good 1-2 punch. But if you extricate David Montgomery from that situation with maybe the best, probably the second best after the Eagles last year, run blocking offensive line in football. David Montgomery is just a guy. Like if you take David Montgomery and put him with the Vikings or the Bears, we saw him with the Bears. He wasn't very good. He
was very good. He had over 1,000 all-purpose yards every single year he was with the Bears.
He was good. The Bears weren't.
This is a guy who last year on 219 carries had 1,015 yards compared to Josh Jacobs, who the Packers brought in to be their guy on 233 carries, only having 805 yards. So on a per carry basis, he's a better running back, and that's splitting a backfield with an explosive rookie that they put a first-round pick into.
That is also with the second best run blocking offensive line in the league versus maybe the best offensive line or the worst offensive line in the league, full stop, in Las Vegas. Like he averaged 4.6 yards per carry with the Lions last year. Before that, in Chicago, behind a mediocre offensive line, 4 yards per carry, 3.8 yards per carry, 4.3 yards per carry, 3.7 yards per carry. Running backs are so much a product of what gets blocked for them. He is the prototypical, if there are 4 yards there, I will get you 5. Like that is what he is. Jahmyr Gibbs is, if there's 4 yards there, I can get you 40. Yeah. That's a different type of player. Now the question is, can he take 15, 18, 20 carries a game? I think he had more than 15 carries twice last year. Like that's the question I think with Jahmyr Gibbs is what can his workload really be? But David Montgomery is a fine passable running back. I wouldn't take him over Josh Jacobs. I wouldn't take him over Jaden Reed. I wouldn't take him over Christian Watson. I wouldn't take him over Dontavian Wicks, just because running backs are so replaceable in general. Like I didn't love spending $14 million on Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, that was laughable.
He's one of the 5 to 8 best running backs in the league. Is he someone that makes a true difference? I don't think so. Like I think there are like 2 running backs in the league that make a difference. It's like Christian McCaffrey, and then like we'll see Bijan Robinson, and then like everybody else is like that's how it works. I just it's not that important a position to me. I don't think it makes that much of a difference because it's such a product of the offensive line. And the Detroit offensive line is really good in run blocking. Like they maul you, they come after you. They kick the Packers' ass in that week 4 game on Thursday night in the trenches. Absolutely took it to them. And that like that's a credit to Detroit. But I don't think that makes David Montgomery a good player. He's not.
Oh, come on.
I wouldn't say he's not a good player.
I'm not saying he's like elite or anything like that. He's definitely good, though.
He's fine. He's fine.
He's more than fine.
Like I said, he's a guy who's had over 1,000 all-purpose yards every year he's been in the NFL.
If you are power ranking the weapons, what order is it for you?
Look at the total touches numbers. He got fed touches in Chicago. He got fed touches in Detroit. He does not produce above and beyond what is blocked. If you look at the rush yards over expectation, he's always been very bad in rush yards over expectation.
But he's always played for the Bears.
But it's about expectation. Like if you block 4 yards and you get 3, that's bad.
See, I'm not worried about expectation. I'm worried about what happens on the field. Like when he's out there running the ball and he's breaking tackles.
I understand what you're saying, and I get it. But if we're trying to talk about player quality, the expectation matters. Like if the offensive line blocks you 4 yards and you get 3 or you get 4, you're not changing the game. You're not adding value to your team. Now, if you get 6, that's what Aaron Jones did. That's adding value. I just don't think he adds value to this team. So that's where I'm like, you have to just take for granted that I don't like David Montgomery as much as you guys do.
Sure.
It's not even a Lions thing.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like him on the Bears either. I didn't like him pre-draft either. People thought he was special pre-draft. I was like, I watched him and I was like, I don't see it. So I've just never been a David Montgomery guy. So that's just like, you can say it's a Lions bias. It's not. It's a David Montgomery bias. I just don't think he's a special player. I've never thought that.
Outside David Montgomery, who are if you're taking 5 weapons out of both teams, just drafting now? How many do we get to a Packer?
I'd say at least 4 or 3 at the very least.
It's probably Gibbs, Laporta, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then then I think like
who is the first Packer off the board? Actually,
I would say Jaden Reed, and that's not an MSU bias.
That's Jaden Reed until further notice. Before the season, I would have said Christian Watson. But then I think I can make a reasonable case like the next 6 players are Packers, because I think there's 4. I already told you I think there's 4 receivers, and then I both of the tight ends for the Packers, like for as good as Sam Laporta was last year, and he was.
I'm nervous for Musgrave. I'll admit.
Luke Musgrave led the league in passer rating when targeted by a tight end, and Tucker Kraft led the league in yards after catch per per whatever it is, yards after catch per attempt, basically, for tight ends. And if you look at what they did in 66, I think it's 66 catches. It's either 66 catches or 66 targets. They had over 700 yards. Sam Laporta in 120 targets. It was 80 more targets to have like 120 more yards than the Packers' 2 tight ends combined for. So, like, I think the tight ends are really good, or can be really good. They aren't really good yet. And then Josh Jacobs. So what did I say? That's 7 guys before you get to the next Lion. So then it becomes a question of, what do you value more?
There's no way. I'm sorry. There's no way you're taking 7 guys over David Montgomery and Jameson Williams. There's no way.
I mean, I just told you, I don't think David Montgomery is like, I think he's a replacement level player.
For sure.
And Jameson Williams has 24 catches in the NFL. Like, what do you want me to say?
But you want to talk? I don't know the EPAs for Jameson Williams, but you're using EPAs as an argument. I assume those have to be huge.
Do something.
Every time he touches the ball, he scores a touchdown.
He's got 3 career touchdowns receiving.
Yeah, and 2 rushing.
In
the guy's a monster.
He has 5 touchdowns. Jaden Reed had 8 touchdowns just last year.
That's just regular season.
Like,
he scored 2.
You are thinking of what the idea of what Jameson Williams can be.
That's what isn't that what estimated averages are? Is we're assuming what they're gonna do. I'm assuming he's gonna take a big jump and be that weapon.
But he hasn't done it yet. You thought that was gonna happen this year, and it didn't. Like, we all thought he would take that second year jump in year 2. He didn't. 24 catches in year 2. That is bad. That is way like, they traded future draft capital to go up into the top 15 to draft Jameson Williams. You expect that guy to be a 1A, 1B type player. And he has 24 catches in the season. I understand he got suspended, but like, he had more than, I was just looking at the numbers. He has more than 2 catches in the regular season 2 times in his whole 2023 season, including the playoffs. 2 times he had more than 2 catches. That is a replacement or sub-replacement level player. Like, I don't know how you argue that's not. If you average 2 catches a game, you are a replacement level player, and he didn't even average 2. So, like, if you look at the whole season, he's got some nice splash plays and has done, in terms of pure production, nothing.
I think you missed the second half of last year for sure. But let's move on from that.
I just told you the numbers. He had 5 catches against the Vikings.
Context always matters to the numbers, right? Like also limited action though. Also limited action, injury, suspension, injury again. Like, it's also like, there's context to these numbers always. Who are you playing in these situations? It's J-Mo. I promise you, I'd be willing to make a bet right now. I would. Let's make a jersey bet. What Packer jersey don't you have that you want?
I mean, I'm not really a jersey guy, but let's do it for my son.
Okay.
Let's do it for my
Shout
son.
out. I'll do the same. I have a son too.
We'll do a kid's Jordan Love jersey.
Okay. In exchange, who do I want for the Lions?
Do Jared Goff, easy.
Get out.
No, it should be David Montgomery if you guys think he's a superstar.
Let's do Jahmyr Gibbs for my son Bryson. Okay. What's the over under here for Jameson Williams? I'll let you make it. Don't go crazy.
Why don't we do Jameson Williams versus a Packer receiver?
Okay. Which one?
I bet Jameson Williams will be the number 2 receiver on the Packers.
Hold on, I'm the one making the bet. You got to relax.
Yards-wise to number 2 receiver on the Packers. Yards-wise.
He's writing checks for your bank account.
Yeah. Hold on, chill over there, Smitty.
I was going to say that earlier.
All right, Packer statistics. I know your leading receiver had 800, 600.
Yeah, I think Jaden Reed had like 833 yards last year, something like that.
Okay. Romeo Doubs last year had 674 receiving yards. Is that fair?
Okay.
You want to start there, or is that too low for you? Because you admit that's too low. You think James was too low.
The over under at 674
or 675 and a half.
But am I saying that if Romeo Doubs has more, do I win the bet?
I don't know. Yeah, should you just do it per player?
That's why I think we should just do player for player.
All right,
let's just do player for player. Let's just do like Jameson Williams against. You want to pick Jaden Reed?
You want to do Dobbs? Dobbs feels like your receiver too. Or Watts. I mean, I could bank on Watson missing some games. Help me out with that one. I feel like Dobbs your receiver too. Jam was our receiver too. I'd be willing to go like that.
See, I don't think Dobbs is a receiver too. I don't want to make it seem like I'm ducking this. But
Yeah.
I know he was by targets last year. He was actually receiver 1 by targets, but I just
Yes.
I watch the team every week. I don't think that that's what he is.
Yeah.
So that's why this is tricky for me. If you wanted
You
to
do
do
Watson total yards between the two of them.
let's do it.
Watson and
This is
JMO
awesome.
total yards.
Virtual handshake.
I think that's a good one because both guys have missed a lot of time, very similar skill sets, like big expectations. So I think that's fair.
You know what? Can I switch to Brian Branch though for the jersey? If I win,
Yes.
All right, cool. Only because like we sniped them from you guys. But real quick, I've taken enough of your time, and I really do appreciate this. This has been like honestly, I had a blast.
It's been great.
But I guess the NFC North this year. What do you see happening 1 through 4?
I already have money on the Packers to win. So let's like start there. People say, "Oh, I bet he bet on whatever." Like, no, I'll show you. I'll show you the FanDuel slip. Like, I have the Packers to win. I have over their win total. I regularly bet on them to win the Super Bowl just because it's fun to do. I think the Packers win 11 games. I think the Lions win 10. I think the Bears win 8 and the Vikings win 6. And I think both the Packers and the Lions win a playoff game.
You got Spinny ready to explode over here. This guy is
You think
turning
the
all
Lions
kinds of
only
red
win
on me.
10 games? 10 games
10-7,
after the
yeah.
after the
I think
improvement of the
I think
defense?
there's some regression coming. I think there's some regression coming for that offense, is what I think.
What? Like from film or what? Like why?
Yeah, regression from who?
people
Well,
just
because I don't believe in Jameson Williams, and I think that they did not upgrade that receiver spot. Now, if they make a trade in the middle of the year for or they make a trade in August for Cortland Sutton, I reserve the right to change my mind on that. But I think they got a little lucky last year. I think the defense is not as good as it was the first half of last year. And when you have to rely on rookie corners, you're just like, even when rookies, I have a bit that most rookies are bad. Even if they turn out to be good players, most rookies are bad.
That's fair.
And so if you need Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw to play meaningful reps for this team, that's a problem. Like that, it just at corner, especially, like corner is one of those spots where rookie corners are almost always terrible. And not just like not good. They're almost always bad. And so that is what I think. And I think there's some regression coming for this offense. I don't think you can smoke and mirrors it that much every year, unless Ben Johnson is just him, and maybe he is.
He is.
We'll see. I'm interested to see it.
You're too Gibbs
what
and
about-
Laporta though.
And those rookie cornerbacks might not even be starting week 1 because of Carlton Davis, who we traded for from the Buccaneers, and then the addition of Amik
Carlton
Robertson
Davis
as
will
well.
play 4 games before he separates his shoulder, and then Terrion Arnold's going to have to play. Like that's just.
Peter, man, I appreciate you. You got anything? I see you do the leap as well. I forgot to mention that in introducing you, but anything else you want to shout out that you got coming up? You want the audience to let know?
No. Locked On Sports Today. Even if you don't like the Packers, Locked On Sports Today is all sports. It's our flagship show on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's like the first 15 minutes of Sports Center. All the big news. You're a diehard Lions fan. You want to be up to date on the rest of the stuff happening in the sports world. We have an awesome crew on the Locked On Podcast Network to get you up to date on all the stories, the local angles. It's a really, really good show. People are really starting to find it lately. I'm really happy about that. So go check that out wherever you get podcasts. You don't have to listen to Locked On Packers, but check out Locked On Sports Today. I really think you'll like it.
Hey, man, if you're
Peter,
the Lions
appreciate you,
guy,
man.
I'm more than willing. This was a blast, and we got to do it again. We didn't even get to talk about the draft classes. Didn't we?
Yeah,
We'll do it. Come, hey, listen, we got a long summer.
Yes, sir.
for sure. Appreciate you so much,
All right,
Peter.
guys.
Thanks
Appreciate
for
you,
joining
brother.
us, man.
Thanks, guys.
was
He was ready to explode.
I'm not gonna lie, the regression got me, but
It's tough because like you got the this show is tough because it's segment.
yes.
We have to go to breaks and stuff like that. That could have lasted forever because we're just so far apart.
Just every time, yeah.
Yeah.
And he feels the same way when we saw the same in his eyes when I said David Montgomery of like, so
Yeah.
it's good. It's great.